Hello everybody, it is still Saturday the 30th of July. This is my third video for today, and if you have not watched the other two, they are on my channel, and maybe you want to watch this in chronological order so that it makes more sense, so you can see how I got here. Anyway, in this video I want to talk about God eternal, never changing, this view of God versus God ever changing. Yeah? Or God the accomplished shapeshifter. And as I said in my video before, if you want to watch it, to be an I am means that you yourself decide what you let into yourself and what you reject. As far as energies, thoughts are energies, as far as that is concerned. And I said we are in an environment where there are two different energies. One is the natural energy that is created by life, by the plant life, even by the rock itself. And it's also what comes to us from the stars. So that is the natural energy that we're in, and then is the energy created by thought constructs, by politics, by religion, by the financial sector, all these other things. So once you have sorted out who you actually are, and that is your job. That is, a lot of people do not do that work. Yeah? They have like a big thought construct like a church. And then they just decide good and bad according to the church. And they become that energy. And they add their energy to, let's say, church, a political party, stuff like that. So they don't discern for themselves. So, but if you are, let's say you have gone the path of becoming an I am, you've decided for yourself, then at the end of that process, you're being left with two options, and that's where I left off in the last video. And that is, one is you can define yourself there and then. And there is this thought, and that would influence a lot of people, how they view themselves. Yeah? The thought of the eternal, never changing God, the rock, that is eternal truth. And, it would create, you should be the image of God. So that would create an image of themselves. If they run with that, what they should be. So then by the time they become an I am, they say, that's it. I am now the eternal, never changing God. And it is this view of the eternal, never changing God that is actually creating tribulation. Because it is this view that says, I am that I am, and my will shall be done, and I shall plow through everything. I will defeat my enemies, anything that comes up against me. It is that view that creates tribulation. So at this moment in time, where we are, and we're saying we're going into a great tribulation. Yeah? And there are people at each other's throat, saying, there's climate change, there's change. Is this natural, or is this created artificially? And as I said, two big groups at each other's throat, very few in the middle that are saying it's actually both. Which is where I'm standing. And if I tell you, what I can see here, you will understand why I'm standing there, because one is actually creating the other. And they will happen simultaneously. And it is this view of the I am the eternal God, unchanging, that actually views nature as a threat. Yeah? As something that comes up against it, especially if nature is changing. I mean, even in times when nature is relatively still, the earth goes through periods where nature is relatively still. Even in those times, this thinking will create upheaval. Because usually there's more than one of that opinion of themselves. So you have different religion, you have different cultures, you have different political systems that will go up against each other. So they're creating their own tribulation out of the way they see themselves. And they're doing that even in times when Earth itself is relatively still. But if the two things happens at once, and really the climate change, as I said, they view that as a threat to their existence, because everything is changing around them, but they will not change. I'm not going to change. I'm going to find a way to, and here's the thing, to ensure the continuation of my kingship. See, that is the view of the unchanging God. It must find ways of not changing to ensure the continuation of its kingship. And that is what is driving technology and stuff like that at the moment. It is to ensure the continuation of what they are, because they are not going to change. They are what they are. And it's not, we are being told at the moment that, technology and that is all, it will do all the work for us one day, and we're all going to be living happy with an universal income or whatever, whilst the machines will do the work for us. No. They know they are going into a tribulation. They are ensuring their own survival. They can see that an awful lot of plebs will be killed during this time. Yeah? And they're not going to clean their own toilets. So they need to invent a machine to do it, if there's no more plebs there to do it. So that's what they're doing. So that is this view that creates tribulation, and that views changes in the world as something coming up against them, or something that is different from themselves as coming up against them. Now, as I said in my video before, and here's another group, and as I said, if you were to throw out all the artificial constructs that, as I said, create tribulation, and you were to live just in the laws of nature, just within the forces of nature, just that, what would happen then? Well, you can see them, there's very few left, like in the Amazon maybe, somewhere, there might be some left. So what happens with them? Very little. Very little. They don't change in a big way. They don't change because they are evolution according to nature, and evolution occurs in nature if there is a need for change. And if there's no need for change, they say, well, it's working fine, don't fix what's not broken. Very little happens with them. So that's one group. Now, again, coming back to the, the unchanging God, because they create tribulation, or if tribulation occurs naturally, and they need to ensure their own kingship, they need to rule over nature, they need to stay unchanged, they create an awful lot of knowledge. Because there's forever a need for knowledge. Yeah? Because increasing tribulation, they have to ensure their kingship. They need knowledge to ensure their own survival. So that system creates an awful lot of knowledge continuously. Yeah, and not only at the top of the pyramid. It's not the ruling ones that are creating the knowledge, but they're mining, because the tribulation trickles down to all parts of that society, and they just mine the gold. Everybody is, as we are now, in a blind panic to find something that will ensure our survival. And they're just mining the gold, what anybody comes up with somewhere. And then they take it to the top of the pyramid to ensure, first of all, their own survival. They will always find new plebs or create something that will replace the plebs. So, and now comes the other side. So that is God, unchanging, versus the shapeshifter. And again, if you look at that, and that is the ones that that constantly, are on the ongoing change. They've never defined themselves, but they've mastered the way of letting energies in according to their will and keeping others out. So they are the masters of what they themselves become. And they're doing it continuously. Again, there's two ways you could use that. One would be to, to stay in nature and be changed according to nature, but be aware of it. And I don't know if there's forces of nature you could keep out or let in. I don't know how you would do that. I mean, it's very clear with the artificial constructs because you can see it and hear it. It would be a bit more difficult with nature. But I mean, if it were just used to so that you can go with the flow, yeah, to ensure the continuation of humanity in that way, by humanity itself changing, not going up against the changes. Well, that's the way you could use it. But for that, to be quite honest, the knowledge, this ability needs to be in all, including the plebs. And the plebs are really not involved in either way, other than that they're doing the works. So I think they have gone further than that. It's not just to go with the flow and change according to what's happening, but to go above, to become detached, to create this perfect light being themselves. I think nature would, in the end, create the perfect light being. It would take an awful lot longer. It would take a very long time. Nature evolution is extremely slow. But I think in the end it will do it. But no, they have their own idea of this perfect light being that is detached from anything else. And that is what they're becoming. And they're not saying, I'm that now. No. They keep working on it. Higher, higher, higher. More. More light, more enlightenment. So, where do they get their knowledge from? And that's the question. Where do they get their knowledge from? You can see how God Eternal gets his knowledge. Because he needs it. because he creates tribulation. He needs the knowledge to survive, to be what he is. So where do they get the knowledge from? And I think, and here's the thing, when I said a few videos back, yeah, that creating these constructs that life is then enslaved in, and that creates tribulation, that was a mistake in history that we should learn from. I think somebody has caught on to what is actually happening, and they have learned from it, just in the wrong way. They've seen that this idea of God eternal, never changing, creates tribulation, and that out of tribulation there comes knowledge. Now I thought for a while this morning, I thought they are watchers. They just don't get involved. They let the idiots build their pyramid systems and mine the knowledge out of need, out of survival need, out of ensuring they're ongoing because they won't change. Maybe I thought they were watchers. Yeah, that they're just standing back and watching it happening. And they just mine the gold themselves. They just pick out of what is coming out of there, what will serve them to create this, whatever vision they have of this wonderful light being. So they take in knowledge, they see what knowledge has been dragged up by this, and they pick what would serve them. And they just go on creating this thing. So that's what I thought this morning. They were watchers. And now, after a while, I thought, they might have become a bit more involved than that. Yeah? If they saw that this thinking creates tribulation and therefore knowledge, I think they might now be the financiers of those I ams, eternal, that will create tribulation. So that they will stir the mud, so to speak, to bring up the knowledge. So I think they may have been watchers at some point, but they're not anymore. I think they are now enabling these pyramid systems to create as much tribulation as possible so that our bottomless pits will open in despair, looking for solutions. So when we say, what are they doing? Yeah? And then looking at this as if they were all the same thing. I think there are at least two here, as I said. And that's the two ways of thinking. I'm God eternal, the one that creates the tribulation and finds the knowledge. And God ever changing, that is standing, well, I said, probably now more than standing at the sidelines, but enabling this to happen, and then just picks out what is good for him. The one thing is, in the entire thing, the plebs are not involved, other than that we are doing the works. And we are the ones that are getting killed when the whole thing gets belly up. So we are kind of caught, again, in between these two kingdoms, in between these two powers, which are both artificial constructs. And again, that is what I said before in the book of Revelation. There are two sides going up against each other, and there's neither of them good. So where do we go from here? What view should we take of ourselves? I mean, I think that the ones that think, God ever changing, reflects what we know as reality, even cosmos. Yeah? It is ever changing. Nature is changing. Even the cosmos is changing. Nothing stays the same. So I would say they are on the right path. But, as I say, what should it serve? What should it serve? What should determine when we become an I am? What should determine what we let in and what we don't let in? What should determine that? Yeah, I mean, according to them, it's this idea of a perfect light being, which they have constructed themselves. Again, then there's an artificial idea. Or would I say, because nature itself creates change. I mean, we don't need their bloody tribulation. There's enough going on nature itself. We don't actually need that to evolve. Would nature itself create a perfect light being in the end? If we become that being that changes with nature, that always does find knowledge for its own survival, yes, but always in a way that it stays in balance with everything else. And would that create the perfect light being in the end? I mean, it would take an awful lot longer. See, this artificial tribulation is really hotting things up, it's speeding it up. But does it speed it up in the right direction? So, again, end of the video, end of trail of thoughts. Still being left with an awful lot of questions. I leave it at this for now. And I keep saying that and I don't, but I might again have a period of rest. Because, and that's another thing that came to me today, because I am exhausted. And the way this is going is not actually good for me. But again, we are in a time where we're being pressed. Yeah, we are being pressed for our survival. We're fighting for our survival. And as I say, the spiritual way is knowledge. We're looking for knowledge. And we are a bit like the hungry caterpillar. Yeah, we eat and we eat and we eat and we eat at the moment. A lot of us do. Now, I'm not suggesting a period of rest where we hang ourselves upside down and fall to pieces in a cocoon, because that is the way of the butterfly. It's not our way. We're not butterflies. But I think we must go according to our body, which is in the end a reflection of what we are. It is a reflection of the energy that we are. The body is not independent of our energy body, it's a reflection of it. And well, then you can say the way we are, we eat food and we eat food, but then we need a period of rest where we digest what we have eaten, and where our body again, and there's again the picture of that, sorts out the nutrition from waste products, or maybe even poison. There could have been poison in what we eat, and the body needs to fight that. But that is a picture of what we should be doing, because that is who we are. And at the moment, as I said, we eat, and we don't give ourselves the time to digest, to sort the food, the spiritual food, the understanding, the knowledge, into good and evil, into what will serve us and what we should get rid of. So I think I should have another period of rest to digest. And then hopefully, maybe at some point go on again. Anyway, I leave it at that for today, and I speak to you again soon. Bye.